Okay, good morning. My name is Jinyang from Purdue University. So today I'm going to talk something slightly different from Gordon's speech, which is but it's quite related because it's also about Stack Overflow. But in this study, we specifically focus the very well-known banning policy on the ChatGPT generated content by Stack Overflow. So I think we have or notice that this ChatGPT has, of course, lots of disruptive impacts on many sectors of business, right? Gordon also has mentioned about that. And another point that we'd like to talk about the importance of examining the impact on user-generated Q&A is that the user-generated Q&A is actually a very important source, a learning source for the learning of large language models. So as a result, any changes in the user-generated Q&A will have further implication for the future learning and improvement of large language models. But that's another important source we'd like to study the impact of, for example, large language model or ChatGPT's impacts on this user-generated Q&A platforms. So, like Gordon has shown, and as well as some kind of anecdotal evidence, we have shown that ChatGPT apparently has threatened the user-generated Q&A, right? This is actually a good chance. We can see that with the rise of the usage on ChatGPT, there is a very significant decline of the usage on Stack Overflow. And there is also some previous research, such as like Wharton's talk, have demonstrated that with empirical evidence showing this kind of substitution or threatening impacts. However, while this kind of impact has very significant economic significance, but from a managerial perspective, it relatively provides or can hardly provides relatively fewer guidance on how the platform managers should moderate the content that is related or generated by ChatGPT. And the reason is because those kind of impact is primarily sourced or directly sourced to the availability or the usage of ChatGPT, or other kind of factors that is under the control of managers, right? For example, availability of ChatGPT. That actually results in substitution, but as, for example, Stack Overflow's manager, they apparently couldn't kind of prohibit using of ChatGPT for its users, right? So, actually, from the platform manager's perspective, they possibly are more interested in another form of impact that is intermediated by the factors under their kind of moderating control. And this kind of impact, one of the primary examples would be the content that is generated by ChatGPT on such kind of platform, such that they can moderate that, they can change that, and as a result, to see kind of what kind of strategic reaction or response they should do in order to kind of foster the content generation and the quality of the content that is provided in the platform, right? So, and this kind of concern or consideration has been actual, and actually causing the real reaction. One of the most prominent examples, as we have motivated at the very beginning, is Stack Overflow. It's a banning on the ChatGPT. So this is actually possibly the first public expressed concern on Stack Overflow, on ChatGPT. And according to their speculation, they feel that they are threatened as the ChatGPT may infuse inaccurate, or in other words, low quality content that will result in the increase of search costs for its other users to search for the right answer. And that kind of increased search costs would actually diminish the future question raising or the usage by other users, right? So, based on this speculation, the countermeasure or kind of the moderating strategy that was launched by Stack Overflow is simply to ban mostly the answers that is generated by ChatGPT, right? So this is a policy that is very well done. So our research question actually comes more from this perspective. We consider the perspective from platform managers. We'd like to understand how the platform should moderate the ChatGPT generated content. And to look at the question, we simply leverage the very well-known example of the Stack Overflow's ban on the user-generated content there. And one thing that we should highlight here is that if the banning of user-generated content generated by ChatGPT is precise and exhaustive, actually the estimates of the impact could be a very good approximate of the ChatGPT's impact via the internal channel that we have previously mentioned. Okay, so this is kind of a theoretical angle to look at the importance of identifying this particular form of impact. So we actually leverage the natural experiment that has happened on Stack Exchange, right? So this is basically Stack Exchange is the parent network of Stack Overflow, and we actually observed that there are several, actually this Stack Exchange consists of several different forums, and they allow each forum to decide on policy regarding the content generated by ChatGPT or generative AI by each of them. And we find that actually among roughly 48 different forums on Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange, most of them throughout have never kind of launched a banning policy on the content of them, but roughly 10 of them have some kind of policy. And also the banning policy varies in terms of time, results in sort of like a very staggered kind of treatment in this natural experiment setting. But we also apparently identify several of the identifying challenges. First one is that apparently the banning policy is sort of self-selective, so there is no randomization in the treatment as usual speaking. And also, across different forums, the heterogeneity will be very large, right? And also because of the treated forum only consists of 10 forums, so that's a very small unit of kind of treated forum. This basically means that the exchangeability between the treated and control group is hardly achievable, right? And apparently it's mostly due to these unobserved confounding issues, and which will further threaten this validity of the parallel chain. So accordingly, we sort of use a relatively more recent kind of empirical framework, which is the generalized synthetic control. So this approach eventually just estimates this equation, very similar to difference with a slight distinction, and then identified every treatment effects of the treated after obtaining the synthetic control and obtaining the treatment effects only for treated and taking the average. So this approach has several kind of very significant merit. Apparently, the first one is that it inherited the artificially enforced parallel chain that is sort of inherited from the classic synthetic control. And another advantage is that it allows statistical inference. So basically, we could have the significance obtained by the estimation procedure. And I think one of the most important or salient merits of that is that it further incorporates this kind of interactive fixed effects into the model, right? And this model, as you can tell, it could further allows the kind of controlling for those time-varying unobservables that varies across different individuals, which is sort of the most important source or the most stubborn source of confounding bias that is difficult to get rid of. And also, it's kind of the source of many of the concerns such as self-selections. So the inclusion of that could largely kind of disarm or at least alleviate many sources of those time-varying individual-specific unobservable, which could be a very good advantage of that. And there is also some of the other challenges. For example, the Stack Overflow is particularly large compared to all the other forms. That results in that in a synthetic control setting, and usually it will involve sort of like weights that is larger than one, which is not realistic, right? So to address this kind of issue, what we did is that we split Stack Overflow by the first tag of each questions. So that results in that the summation of all of those kind of sort of artificially made subforum will equal to the total size of Stack Flow. But that will also result in several subforums on Stack Flow that is significantly smaller in scale. And as a result, we can see that a subforum on Stack Flow will be actually similar in terms of size comparing to the other forums on Stack Exchange that is kind of served as control group. So given this kind of identifying design, we got the data from Stack Exchange's polygon, which is typically used for this kind of investigation. We aggregate the data at subforum and day level to construct a panel structure. And to reflect the impact on user-generated content, we measure the changes in the user-generated content from two dimensions. The first dimension is actually on the question and answer aspect, because this is two major type of activities on some kind of platform. And the second dimension is basically the quantity and quality aspect of each of them, right? So because that's, and both of them are pretty important. So for the quantity, we measure simply the number of questions, number of quality. And for the quality aspect, we actually consider the number of questions or answers under each category of quality. And the quality is very similar to Wharton's approach. We measure that by making use of the votes. So basically, if the vote is higher than 1, we consider that as a high type quality question or answer. Whereas if that vote is lower than 0, it's considered as kind of a low quality. Okay. And beyond those measures, we further consider the viewership, which is also available to measure the question's quality, because question have higher viewership usually means that the question is more interesting and possibly contain like high quality questions. And for the answer, we further measure the average solving rate for that particular data on the forum. So usually, if the answer is better, we should be able to see like a higher solving rate that is marked by the question reasoner. Right? And also, we also measure this fork score, which is kind of a readability measure. The high score means that the question is kind of difficult to understand, difficult to read. And also, ultimately and jointly, we measure the number of solved questions. So this measure effectively reflect both sort of activities on the question raising side as well as the answer side. Also the quantity and quality, right? Because basically, a larger number of solved question means that there is kind of more kind of positive benign activities or prosperity on such kind of platform. So we also leverage that. All right, so let's take a very quick look at the answer regarding what different kind of dependent variable that we just talked about. So for answers, not very surprisingly, we find that there's a decline in the quantity, right? Because many of those answers that is needed to be generated by ChatGPT has been deplatformed. So apparently there should be a decline in that, but we further find that this kind of decline is not very even. It's kind of uneven across different categories of questions. Most of them happens on those kind of high type answers and neutral type of answers, and relatively weaker of them, like a smaller portion of them or kind of smaller percentage change of them are applies to those low quality answers. So that kind of indicates that there is a declining in terms of the average quality of the answer that has been provided in the platform as well. And this is further substantiated by looking at the solving rate, because we find that there is a decline in solving rate as well. Indicate that the overall question, so the answer provided is inferior compared to the platform that doesn't ban the use of ChatGPT generated answers. And also looking at the average fault index, we see that the question becomes more difficult to understand, having a higher readability score. So those all the quality aspect, the result indicated the quality sort of declined as well. But most surprisingly, we find that there is also a decline in the number of questions. So knowing that it's very unlikely or unusual for people to generate a question using ChatGPT, right? People are not going to sort of create a question on ChatGPT. So this kind of decline is rather not very intuitive and surprising. But we will look at that for the reason once we move to the next part, talking about the mechanism part. And also similarly, we find that the decline of the question is also not even. Most of those questions that decline happens to the question with positive score. So basically, we see that the decline nearly all comes from or attributable to the high quality questions. And confirming that part of change, we find that the average question views decline as well, indicating that the questions kind of become less attractive, less engaging of people's viewership. So given these two parts of the results, it's not going to be very surprising to see that at the soft question level, we will see a decline number of questions due to the ban of the ChatGPT generated answers. Okay, so among those part of the results, one part that I've sort of is a bit confused is actually related to the change in terms of in the questions, right? Because it's not very surprising to see that there's diminishing in the questions, in the answers, because some of the answer has been deprived. But why would that the number of questions also be diminished? From a direct impact perspective, there is sort of no such kind of direct channel to form that. But considering an indirect channel, right, it is very likely that the decline of the question is due to actually the decline in both of the quantity and quality of the answers, right? Because the answers become fewer and also become of lower quality. So that could further discourage people to raising high quality questions, right? Because they anticipate that the future question to be received from the platform, answers from the platform will be not as effective. So this could actually form a sort of indirect causal path, finally explaining the decline in the questions. And to empirically substantiate such causal paths, we leverage sort of like the Pearl's method of criteria. So technically, we can actually block this causal path, right? To sort of eliminate, all of the causal impacts coming from this path. And as a result, you can see the remaining causal paths that is kind of remaining in this direct causal path. If the remaining causal path becomes kind of like weaker or insignificant, that could lead to an attribution of previously found causal impact to this particular indirect causal path, right? And our results confirming this expectation, we find that after blocking this causal path by controlling for the changes in the question number as well as the quality of the answer number as well as the answer's quality, we find that the average treatment effects that reflect this causal path becomes insignificant. Okay, indicating that the previous found negative kind of causal effects are mainly explained by this indirect causal path. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with this. But we further extend this analysis into the soft question. It's generate pretty much the same results, indicate that causal path is like that. Okay. Okay. So that's pretty much of all the findings. I'm open to also questions.